The Awakening. The Galactic Confederation chamber stretched 3 kilometers in diameter, a monument to 10,000 years of peace. Crystalline pillars rose like frozen waterfalls, refracting light from 100 different suns through the transparent dome overhead. Representatives from 47 species occupied their designated platforms, each designed to accommodate their unique physiologies. Some floated in gel suspension tanks, others perched on thermal platforms. A few existed as pure energy, contained within magnetic fields. On Platform 48, the newest addition, Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood alone. She was 43 years old, with silver threading through her dark hair and eyes that had witnessed too many diplomatic failures. Her simple gray suit seemed almost comically plain compared to the bioluminescent robes, chitinous armor, and quantum thread garments surrounding her. But Elena had learned long ago that underestimation was sometimes an advantage. The human petitions for aid, High Chancellor Mordak announced, his 4 vocal sacs producing harmonics that the translation matrix rendered as disdain. The Valdrine Chancellor resembled a mantis sculpted from obsidian, each movement precise and calculated. The Krillian Dominion has issued demands regarding the human colony on Proxima Station. They claim territorial rights predating human expansion. Elena's jaw tightened. The claim was fabricated. Everyone in this chamber knew it. The Krillians wanted Proxima because of its strategic position and resource-rich asteroid belt. But lies wrapped in bureaucratic language were the currency of galactic politics. Ambassador Vasquez, Mordak continued, you may present your case. Elena activated her platform's holographic display. Images materialized above her. Proxima Station, home to 12,000 human colonists, families, children, scientists studying the galaxy that had finally welcomed humanity among the stars. Honored representatives, Elena began, her voice steady despite the weight of 47 species watching her. The Krillian Dominion's claims are baseless. We have documentation proving— Documentation? The interruption came from Commander Thexerol himself, the Krillian military leader who had issued the ultimatum. He dominated his platform, 3 meters of scaled muscle and natural armor plating, 4 arms crossed over his barrel chest, each hand tipped with claws designed for rending flesh. Humans and their papers. Do you think words matter when might determines truth? Laughter rippled through several platforms. The Hixari delegation, crystalline beings who communicated through light pulses, flickered in what Elena's translation device rendered as amusement. The Confederation was built on law, not might, Elena countered, forcing calm into her voice. If we abandon that principle, the Confederation was built by species who earned their place through strength, Thexerol rumbled. Tell me, Ambassador, what has humanity contributed besides quaint biological curiosities? He gestured dismissively. No natural weapons, no armor. Your eyesight is mediocre, your hearing worse. You cannot even survive in most galactic environments without artificial support. More laughter. Elena felt heat rising in her chest, but she channeled it into focus. Her predecessor had warned her about this. The casual dismissal, the barely concealed contempt. Humanity had achieved faster than light travel only 60 years ago. In galactic terms, they were infants. We offer innovation, Elena said quietly. Adaptability, a unique perspective. You offer weakness. Thexerol cut her off again. I have studied your species, Ambassador. You are soft. Your worlds know nothing of true conflict. The last major war among humans ended over a century ago. You have grown comfortable, complacent. The Krillian Dominion will occupy Proxima Station in 48 hours. The colonists may evacuate peacefully, or they may learn what happens when prey animals challenge predators. The chamber fell silent. Even the species who had been laughing seemed uncomfortable with such naked aggression. But no one spoke in humanity's defense. Chancellor Mordak's optical sensors swept the assembly. The matter requires a vote. All in favor of Confederation intervention on behalf of the human colony? Elena watched the voting display. A sea of red negatives, only 3 abstentions. 0 green affirmatives. The petition is denied, Mordak declared. Ambassador Vasquez, the Confederation recommends peaceful evacuation. The Krillian Dominion's claim will be reviewed through proper channels, which meant never. Everyone understood the subtext. Elena stood perfectly still for 3 heartbeats. Then she smiled, a small cold expression that didn't reach her eyes. I see. she said softly. Then I suppose we'll handle this ourselves. She closed her display and walked toward the exit. Behind her, she heard Thexerol's booming laugh. Handle it? With what, Ambassador? Your diplomacy? Your strongly worded protests? Elena paused at the chamber's threshold. She turned, and something in her expression made several nearby representatives shift uneasily. Commander Thexerol, she said, her voice carrying across the vast space with unnatural clarity. You have made a grave miscalculation. But you'll understand soon enough. She left before he could respond. The secure communication room aboard the human diplomatic vessel Magellan was cramped by design. Small spaces were harder to bug, harder to infiltrate. Helena sealed the door behind her and activated the quantum encryption. Authorization Vasquez Alpha 7. Connect me to Earth Command. The holographic display flickered to life. General Marcus Chen materialized, his weathered face showing the strain of a soldier who had never expected to need his training. He was 68, with gray stubble and eyes like chips of flint. Behind him, Elena could see the operations center of Earth Defense Headquarters, buried 3 kilometers beneath the Rocky Mountains. I saw the vote, Chen said without preamble. They refused. Worse than refused. They laughed. Elena's hands clenched into fists. Thexerol all but promised a massacre if we don't evacuate. Chen nodded slowly. The colonists? Refuse to leave. They're asking for weapons. Good. Something almost like approval flickered across Chen's face. Elena, you know what this means. She did. They both did. Since first contact, since humanity had realized they were stepping into a galaxy that viewed them as curiosities at best and prey at worst, they had been preparing. 60 years of secret planning. 60 years of research, development, and training based on one fundamental assumption. Eventually, someone would test humanity. And when they did, humanity needed to be ready to pass that test in a language the galaxy would understand. Protocol Reaper, Elena whispered. Protocol Reaper, Chen confirmed. We always knew peace was a luxury. The galaxy respects strength, and it's time we showed them what humanity's strength really looks like. He leaned forward. I need your authorization, Madam Ambassador. You speak for Earth in this chamber. This decision is yours as much as mine. Elena thought of the colonists on Proxima, thought of the children playing in the agricultural domes, unaware that alien warships were preparing to tear their world apart, thought of every human who had ever been dismissed, mocked, considered too weak to matter. Activate Protocol Reaper, she said. Show them what happens when you corner a species that evolved by hunting mammoth across ice ages. Chen's expression hardened into something ancient and terrible, the face of Homo sapiens, apex predator of Earth, killer of megafauna, and conqueror of a hostile world. Understood. Earth Defense Fleet is moving to battle stations. All stealth assets are being deployed. Special operations teams are prepping for insertion. He paused. Elena, there's no going back from this. I know. She met his gaze through the hologram. They wanted to see what humanity offers the galaxy. Let's show them. The transmission ended. Elena stood alone in the small room, feeling the weight of what she had just set in motion. In 48 hours, the Krillian Dominion would arrive at Proxima Station expecting surrender. They would find something else entirely. The Doctrine. 46 hours later, Commander Thexerol stood on the bridge of the Dominator, the Krillian flagship, and watched Proxima Station grow larger on the tactical display. Behind his vessel, 300 warships maintained formation, the largest battle group the Dominion had assembled in 2 centuries. It was, by any objective measure, overkill. But Thexerol understood symbolism. The galaxy was watching. When the humans evacuated or died, every species would understand that the Krillian Dominion's patience had limits. More importantly, they would understand that humanity's seat at the Confederation table meant nothing without the strength to defend it. Status of the human colony? He demanded. His sensor officer, a younger Krillian named Vexmar, checked the displays. Station appears operational, Commander. Power signatures normal. But we detect no defensive fleet, no military installations. They haven't even raised shields. Thexerol's inner eyelids flickered, the Krillian equivalent of a satisfied smile. Of course not. They have nothing to defend with. Transmit the final warning. The communication went out across all frequencies. Human colonists of Proxima Station, this is your final opportunity to evacuate. You have 1 hour. After that, we will board your station and remove you by force. Resistance will be met with lethal response. Thexral settled back into his command throne, already composing the report he would send to the Dominion Council. This would be a textbook operation. Overwhelming force, minimal casualties, maximum political impact. The hour passed in silence. Time's up, Thexral announced. All ships move to boarding positions. Prepare assault teams. The Krillian fleet surged forward, engines blazing. Proxima Station hung in space like a perfect target, its lights still burning, its docking ports accessible. It looked almost peaceful. That should have been Thexral's first warning. Commander. Vexmar's voice cracked with sudden alarm. Sensor contact. Multiple signatures appearing at extreme range. The universe exploded into chaos. Ships materialized from nowhere. Sleek. Angular vessels painted void black, their surfaces absorbing sensor sweeps like holes in space itself. They had been there all along, Thexral realized with dawning horror. Hidden behind stealth technology the Confederation didn't know humanity possessed. Evasive maneuvers. Thexral roared, but he was already too late. The human ships opened fire. What emerged from their weapons wasn't energy, no plasma bolts or particle beams. Instead, solid projectiles streaked across the void at a significant fraction of light speed, accelerated by magnetic fields to velocities that made them nearly impossible to dodge. The first Mach round, magnetic acceleration cannon, though Thexral didn't know the term yet, punched through the Ravager's shields as if they weren't there. The kinetic impact shattered the cruiser's hull, sending debris spinning into 3 other Krillian vessels. Secondary explosions bloomed like flowers of death. Shields ineffective, Vexmar shouted over the alarms. Commander, their weapons bypass our defensive systems, pure kinetic energy. No energy signature to deflect. Thexral watched in disbelief as his perfectly ordered battle formation disintegrated. The human ships moved with predatory grace, never staying in one position long enough to target effectively. They struck from unexpected angles, coordinated with a precision that suggested hive-mind communication. But humans weren't a hive species, which meant their individual units were making tactical decisions faster than Krillian commanders could coordinate responses. Return fire, Thexral commanded. All batteries full spread. Energy weapons lit up the void, and for a moment Thexral felt hope. Several human vessels took hits, their shields flaring. But instead of pressing the attack conventionally, the human ships scattered, not in retreat, but in a pattern Thexral recognized too late. They were herding the Krillian fleet. Commander, we're being pushed toward the asteroid field. The revelation came an instant before the second wave of human ships decloaked, this time from within the asteroids themselves. They had positioned units in a kill box, and Thexral had flown his fleet directly into it. More Mach rounds hammered the Krillian formation. The Executioner exploded, its reactor breached. The Razor Wind lost all power, drifting dead in space. 17 ships gone in as many minutes. All ships retreat. Thexral's pride shattered as thoroughly as his fleet. Break formation, scatter course headings. Commander, we're receiving a transmission. It's from the human station. Thexral's claws dug into his command throne. Put it through. The bridge's main display flickered and General Marcus Chen's face appeared. He wore a military uniform of dark blue, decorated with ribbons Thexral couldn't interpret, but he understood the expression. The cold, calculated look of a predator evaluating prey. Commander Thexral, Chen said, his voice carrying no anger, no triumph, just statement of fact. You were warned. You chose not to listen. You were hiding warships, Thexral managed. Stealth technology, the Confederation treaties. The treaties prohibit aggressive action, Chen interrupted. We've committed no aggression. We're defending our territory against an invasion force. Everything we've done is legal under Confederation law. He leaned forward slightly. But legality isn't what you're really concerned about right now, is it? Around Thexral's flagship, the human ships maintained their positions, weapons still charged but holding fire. Waiting. What do you want? Thexral forced out. I want you to understand something, Chen replied. Your species evolved as apex predators on your homeworld. You're stronger than us, tougher, better armed by nature. Those advantages made you confident. Maybe overconfident. Chen's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes made Thexral's combat instincts scream warnings. Humanity evolved differently. We weren't the strongest species on Earth. We weren't the fastest or the most dangerous. Do you know what we were, Commander? Thexral said nothing. We were persistence hunters. We chased prey across continents until they died of exhaustion. We tracked wounded animals for days. We didn't need to be stronger. We just needed to be more stubborn, more adaptable, more willing to use every advantage we could create or imagine. Chen gestured, and the display split to show footage. Archival human history. Soldiers in trenches, mud and blood and mechanized warfare. Guerrilla fighters using terrain and tactics to defeat larger forces. Submarine warfare, aerial bombardment, nuclear weapons. We fought each other for thousands of years, Chen continued quietly. We perfected warfare in ways your species never needed to. Because when your strength failed, you had nothing else to fall back on. When our strength failed, we adapted. The footage shifted to show the recent battle from multiple angles. Human ships moving in coordinated strike patterns. The precision of their targeting. The ruthless efficiency of their tactics. You came here expecting prey, Chen said. You found hunters. Thexral felt something he hadn't experienced in decades. Genuine fear. This is your one warning, Commander. Withdraw your fleet. Abandon your territorial claims. Or we'll show you what humanity learned from 10,000 years of killing each other. Lessons we hoped we'd never have to teach anyone else. The transmission ended. For 5 seconds, Thexral sat frozen. Pride warred with survival instinct. Then he looked at his tactical display, at the human ships positioned perfectly to annihilate what remained of his fleet, at the casualty reports still flooding in, at the colonists on Proxima Station who had never evacuated because they'd never needed to. All ships, he said, the words tasting like poison. Withdraw to Dominion space. Maximum burn. The Krillian fleet limped away from Proxima Station, leaving 18 dead warships behind. The emergency session of the Galactic Confederation convened 6 hours later. Every representative was present. Even species that rarely attended had materialized to watch the proceedings. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood on Platform 48. And this time no one laughed. High Chancellor Mordak's optical sensors fixed on her with something approaching respect. Ambassador, the Confederation has reviewed combat footage from Proxima Station. Your species has capabilities we were not aware of. We tried to tell you, Elena replied simply. You chose not to listen. Murmuring rippled through the chamber. Several species shifted uneasily. The Hixari delegation's light pulses conveyed what the translation matrix rendered as concern. The Krillian Dominion has withdrawn its territorial claims, Mordak continued. They have also requested that formal apologies be extended and reparations negotiated. Elena nodded. We accept their apology. As for reparations, we'll discuss terms. There is another matter. Mordak paused, a gesture that in Valdrine communication suggested careful consideration. The Confederation Security Council has 3 permanent seats. Given recent events, there is unanimous agreement that humanity should occupy the vacant 4th seat. The chamber remained silent. Elena understood what wasn't being said. This wasn't an honor. This was an acknowledgement of threat. The galaxy had seen what humanity could do, and they wanted humans where they could watch them. We accept, Elena said, on one condition, which is that every species here understands something clearly. Elena's voice carried through the vast chamber, and her words would be recorded, translated, and transmitted to every corner of the galaxy. Humanity came here seeking peace. We wanted to learn, to grow, to be part of something larger than ourselves. We still want that. She paused, letting that sink in. But we're also prepared to defend ourselves and our allies with every resource at our disposal. We're not warriors by preference, we're warriors by history. And that history taught us one fundamental lesson. Peace is precious, worth almost any sacrifice. But there are some things worth fighting for, and we will never surrender those things, no matter the cost. Elena looked directly at the platform where Thexral would have stood if he'd had the courage to attend. The galaxy wanted to know what humanity offers. We offer partnership, friendship, innovation, all the best parts of what we can be. Her expression hardened. But if you force us to show you the worst parts, the parts we spent centuries trying to leave behind, then you'll learn why Earth's dominant species isn't the strongest, or the fastest, or the most naturally armed. She smiled. And it was the smile of a persistence hunter who had tracked prey across an ice age. We're the species that never stops, never surrenders, never forgets, and never ever fights fair when survival is on the line. The chamber remained silent for a long moment. Then slowly, representatives from 47 species signaled their acknowledgement, some respectful, some fearful, all understanding. High Chancellor Mordak's harmonics conveyed what might have been approval. "Welcome to the Security Council, Ambassador Vasquez. May your species find the peace you seek." "Thank you, Chancellor." Elena inclined her head. "May we all find that peace together." The session adjourned and Elena walked back to her vessel. Behind her, the galaxy whispered in 1,000 languages about the species that had been underestimated, mocked, and dismissed. They wouldn't make that mistake again. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Marcus Chen stood in Earth Defense Headquarters and watched the Confederation proceedings on the main display. Around him, officers and analysts monitored deployments, coordinated with colonial defenses, and maintained the readiness protocols that had won humanity its place at the Galactic table. "Stand down, Protocol Reaper?" his second-in-command asked. Chen considered the question. Considered the galaxy that had learned a lesson but might, given time, forget it. Considered the human colonies spreading across the stars, vulnerable and precious. "Keep it active," he said quietly. "Low readiness state, but ready to escalate immediately if needed." "Understood, sir." Chen turned back to the display, watching Elena accept humanity's new role. They had wanted peace. They had achieved it for now through demonstrated strength. The irony wasn't lost on him. Humanity had spent a century trying to leave its violent past behind, building a civilization based on cooperation and diplomacy. But in the end, what earned them respect wasn't their ideals. It was the galaxy's understanding that humans were willing and able to fight like nothing else in the known universe. "Sir?" An analyst approached. "We're receiving communications from several Confederation species. They're requesting bilateral defense agreements. Mutual protection pacts." Chen allowed himself a small smile. "Forward them to the diplomatic corps. But run threat assessments first. I want to know who's approaching us out of respect versus who's approaching us out of fear." "Yes, sir." As the officer departed, Chen looked up at the ceiling, through 3 kilometers of rock, through Earth's atmosphere, toward the stars where humanity was carving out its future. They had learned a hard truth. The galaxy didn't respect words. It respected power. But humanity had also taught the galaxy something in return. That power came in many forms. And the most dangerous form was the kind that stayed hidden until the moment it was needed. The galaxy had mocked humanity. They wouldn't make that mistake again.